How's it going, guys? Welcome back. So we're going to be here for the last week in May discussing 20th to 24th. Going to do these in weekly blocks. Good to talk about all the trades I took, my thought process throughout them, because these will be getting uploaded probably like daily when they come out. You're going to see plenty of videos now with probably what happened every week within a day, all condensed down. As for accounts, I actually picked up an FTMO account here the other day. So that's 100k. It was on offer. So that's there. I haven't took trades on it yet, but I will be looking to actively trade that soon. I went for the swing account as well because I want to be able to hold trades through news. And that's something that Alpha doesn't allow you to do. When it comes to executing trades at news, you cannot do that on Alpha or even FTMO standard account. So this swing is going to be lower risk. I can't risk as high as I'd like to. Maybe on the Alphas I'd risk a bit more. But these will be there, and FTMO is one that I want to be with. And they've got MetaTrader. They're not using their own platform, which I respect it. I think that I want to stick to MT5 funded platform. It's the platform I've used throughout, and I'm not going to change it to their own little system they've got going on. That's my personal preference. I have picked up another 100k on Alpha, so I've got two untouched 100ks. I've got one 100k that's in phase 2, which is slightly down, which I'm currently in a trade here. You can see that it's somewhat fluctuating within some profit there at the minute. And then we've of course got the account here, which I've nearly failed, which is currently now closing back up nearly to break even. So that's getting recovered, which is good. And then obviously, yeah, I'm loaded. I'm locked and loaded, ready to go. So I'm not yet failed one. I'm still in the midst of trying to pass phase 2 on one. And this week's good because I took 2 trades. One still running into this week. One I took a loss on, which I should have won. And then one trade I completely missed and wasn't confident in getting on. So let's go to the start of this week and let's look at how we were setting up. I've kind of marked out the weekly stuff already for you to be able to see that DXY overall is starting to change structure a little bit. We're starting to see bearish candles and upside rejections. We saw this bullish week, probably spoke about that in the last video, fill this wick. It's an imbalance fill, so this means that there's no imbalances left, which means there's less chance for price to pull back to that area if we are going to see continued downside. And I've marked it up for this coming week, so we know again if we come up to this area and we fill it, less likely to come down. Now, of course, I've put up a ordered block here now, and I'm not too fussy on that on the weekly, so that's now chucked in as a potential rejection point for price to continue down. And I spoke about 104 being the substantial key level that we like to hold below ideally. So I'm expecting, even though we haven't broken through it, which would have been better, I'm expecting price to now try and run down through that. As for the daily time frame, we have price coming into this newly formed fair value. 50% of it's been tapped. I spoke about basically if we see price failing on the daily at 104, that's a liquidity point to take out, maybe to come up into these higher areas to then see continued downside later in the week. So that's really there on DXY, looking for downside overall. If we were to scrap this for a second, let's just get to where we actually want to be on this. We'll go on to EU. So EU's looking pretty similar overall. You can kind of see here that we've got 5 bullish candles in a row. We're coming up into this weekly area. So what I deem to be a thing is that if we're looking at this on the weekly, this is all liquidity, right? So we've took out all this liquidity. If we're going to come up now, this high, it's got taken. It's still not closed like a rejection on the weekly. So I'm expecting price to not have an issue within this fair value until we see it have an issue, right? So I'm still looking for that upside. Unless we see something otherwise. We've got the imbalance fill quite lower down, and something on the daily I was standing out on EU was a higher time frame play was on the cards. What I'm looking at is from this push up, if we're going to see further upside, we're going to potentially pull back into this daily fair value gap, which I had a move at. This is one I deem just too high to be taken. The reason being is it's really hard to say you can get a safe stop loss in here, whereas in here I know that if I'm wrong, we're going to come in for this liquidity here, and I will respect that. I just got in a bit too early. But a pullback for the week shouldn't go too deep. We're talking here, it already has to pull back 50. If we're going to start to pull back 100 plus, it's not really likely to close decently for the week. So looking for upside. If we fail to the upside here to start the week and we can't push through this weekly high previous, looking to take out this. So perfectly in line with DXY there. That's what I look for every single week. As for GU, coming into this week, let's go to the Friday. Similar thing we've got going on here. So we're very high on GU. We've seen a massive push up. We came back into this order block and we started to break that high. We haven't seen a significant rejection off that. Again, very, very strong volume. We could see a pullback into this daily area right down here for a higher time frame play, but apart from that, I'm just going to be looking for medium time frames. Unlikely that price will create buys off these equal lows that potentially could come in, and the very big fair value gap there as well, which is, it's just massive. And again, you can't get decent stop losses. I'm more interested, if this trade doesn't play out, I'm more interested in this wick potentially getting a move from that, because that took out this low to give us this break through that high after we had a pullback. So yeah, bullish on the pairs and bearish on DXY. So coming into Monday, I wasn't looking for a trade. Wanted to see what Monday had to show, and we showed that we failed at 104. We broke previous daily low. That is liquidity to take out. It's as simple as that. I'm not marking too much up on the chart here. You can see even on EU, we failed to the upside. So in regards to coming into this fair value gap, this into 50% wasn't enough. We're going to have to take out that. Whether we fill the gap or not is to be undecided. But my gauge is now, if I'm looking to buy a higher time frame from lower, then I'm selling down to this. So sells are on the cards. GU Monday just comes up and taps up. So I'm not getting any reactions to say we're coming down yet. I think that's quite an important thing, that we haven't actually seen a standout liquidity point that we need to take out on GU. And that is when I like to play counter trend, because otherwise you're going to think that you can sell counter. But really, what could happen is next day could break the low and flip and start closing up again. So really, unless you're selling to the previous daily low, which gives you tight trades, like we're looking at 12 pips, you're not going to catch a trade in that unless you're on the 1 minute. So I'm going to stay away from that. Focus my efforts on EU. Now, I made a mistake on this day and I took a loss, and gutting one really. Would have passed phase 2 on the 100k and I would have been funded. So this week hurt a lot. I think there's a lot of things that as a trader just hit you in the face, and this was the week for me where everything somewhat didn't go to plan. But these are the weeks where you grow the most really, so you've just got to appreciate them as well at the same time. Right, as we're coming into this day then, we create the Asian range. So in terms of a leg on EU for coming down, I was looking at initially this leg within the day, and it would have been then increased. I changed that idea based on us making a somewhat new leg, and obviously it's debatable whether that could be the leg, because it could be. It took out this high and it made a new high and it come down. So this is a tighter range, but I think where I went wrong is if we're actually looking at where price fell from on Monday. It's not really about where it fell from. It's that created a unmitigated wick on the 1 hour. We then saw price have a sharp push down, create a new low for the day. This is a decisive leg down, just like this one here, just like this one here. And what these show is volume. They show an incentive to push in one direction. So when we take out this high later in the day, and then we consolidate, slowly chop down and take out this low, there's something to be said that this could still be potential inducement, and we're not going to hold this level. And in that case then, especially with this leg still only being roughly around 30 pips or under, yeah, 30-ish pips, that's not too big of a leg. So the trade was this, the trade of the day was this, and I did not take it. And the lessons have to be learnt there, that sometimes you're just not going to win. And so stop's going to go above here, about 12.5 pips. We're going to target that liquidity. And that was the 3R trade for the day. That would have been the move for the week, really, on the medium time frames on EU. And I took this trade instead. I was basing my move off this 1 hour order book just above Asian. And of course, that did not play out. Had a tight stop as well, so 7.5 pips. A bit gutting, really. That didn't play out. 3.8R. So you can see here what happened here. Price just passed through it like butter when we come into that 1 hour. And yeah, the trade will play out the next day. If we quickly skip it. There we go. Beautiful move down. So that was the play, and I've missed it. And sometimes that's going to happen. So you're going to have to be on your feet about what is your trade showing you. If you're wrong, then there's a way you could have made it right. Today there was, and that was a lesson to learn. So loss there taken. It's more important about what we do. So that day closes bearish. Okay, cool. What does GU do? Well, GU did it. It broke the low and it closed bullish. And it's, again, it's saying Is there enough to say that we can sell? Well, I would say the next day would give us more of an idea. If we can continue now, maybe that was just a low volume day, then we're potentially going to go up. If we can't, then we're going to see price fail, and then this is liquidity. So I'm going to skip this day because I didn't like GU enough to take a trade on. We're now sitting here with this being liquidity. So coming into Thursday, that's key liquidity. That's obvious because price has now pushed through this and failed halfway through this daily order block at the very high of this next push up, next push down that created that leg down. So this did not even come into the daily order block. So we can see that that's definitely a confirmation for downside now. Only to that wick though. No further than that. I'm not playing sells the higher time frame in here. That's the way it went. As for that Tuesday, so we didn't see that price come up that high and take that out. So I'm still bearish on EU, and again, a gutting day. This is the fine margins that trading is, and it wasn't even that my trade came in or anything. I went for a re-go at this idea with this being the leg. It showed some decent decisiveness coming down. We saw an imbalance created in an order block, with that being the key level I wanted to get in at. So we're looking at 1 hour fair value gap high there. I looked for this position to be taken, and again looking for that as being the target. So I think again the trade was around this, about 3.8R. Again would have passed me phase 2. I'm pretty sure at this point with the risk that I'm putting on it. Price come up, just missed breaking Asian high, was about half a pip from taking me in. Straight down to target. So again, that's the leg, that's the idea, looking to play into that. We also had this, you could take a trade off, and to be fair, it didn't come in. But sometimes you just miss the trades, and when you just took a loss day before, and then that trade plays out that you missed and you should have got in, and then that happens, it was a hard one to swallow. I'm going to be real with the emotions that go through you as a trader, but it doesn't stop me from, sticking to my plan and rules that I'm going to do what I need to do to get through the week. So that was gutting, and the only saving grace really was what happened here is we started to pull back, and this is where the higher time frame position started to look good. So we've got DXY that Wednesday took us out, so we saw that imbalance fill as well. It's looking quite bullish though. EU is looking quite bearish. I was a little bit skeptical about this position, but the thing is, if I said it at the start of the week, it's the idea planned for the overall weekly, not the daily. So you can get quite caught out, and this is where the change for me placing pending orders with limits is so different to live market execution, because it's almost like I'm getting in buys when we're bearish, and before I'd only get in buys when we're bullish. So it's a complete different way of trading, and sometimes can play with your head a little bit, but in the right ways. It's not a negative thing at all. As for GUs, we're coming into Thursday now. I can't play a counter move now because we've now cleared this daily, so it could look like we're going to carry on down. I'm just waiting for this buy to come in so we can see here what happens on Thursday. We have DXY. We fail to tap into this weekly, so we do come up again. We had a massive wick to the downside there. EU, you can see I'm tagged in. So what happened on this day is I got tagged into this buy. We can see price came and tagged me in here at, what was it, 8 to 9 o'clock. And then we saw price run up, news took us back down, and I was thinking, yeah, this day's not looking great. And we're looking like that. And it's coming to Friday now. I don't trade Friday, so I'm just waiting for the week to finish. As for GU though, this is where, again, I missed the trade. I was being too picky, and I'm going to talk through the thought process, and this again would have passed me the phase 2. So just so many scenarios that could have gone my way that didn't. And dealing with that is part of the game. And yeah, if we're going to now look at this, we can see that overall we're looking within this leg. This leg here is what we're looking to see, this high respected really. On the 1 hour here, you can see that, we've got this wick that's been potentially unmitigated. I think you could probably go on the 30-minute to have a better idea that this is what you want to look for. You had that 30-minute order block that created this push down and breaking all this low for the day on the previous day, which we come into twice. So I'm liking the fresher POIs. You may not think that's a good enough unmitigated wick. It's debatable. I didn't even take it based on I didn't think that being good enough. So you can see here that what we then looked for would have been this trade with our stops let's just see where we need to put the stops. To be fair, the stops didn't actually need to go much further than here, based on there not being a POI to the left that I liked to have stop loss above. That is the POI. And then your target's down at the liquidity. And that's, again, having that small stop loss psychologically caught me out as well. I probably could have just made it 10 and it still would have been a 5-6 hour trade. Let's go through this day. Let's get the Asian range up. And you can see here that this was an unbelievable trade in the end. Played out to an absolute T. Missed it. And that is an unbelievable move. And it's one that's going to potentially haunt me there for May. But 2 weeks there, 2 days in the week, one on each pair, caught you with the R you need to get for the week. So you're looking at 6 to 7, really. Add the other 3, you're looking at 10R. So there was 10R on the cards. I caught none. The only thing that's still playing out at the minute is this trade, which we saw Friday do that. So then, as you can see now, that was looking better. And this is how we're looking right now in the live market. And it's, while the trade's looking all right, I think the only thing I have to say about it, and we'll talk about it more in the next video, is that this trade is in a sea of liquidity right now. And if price is going to fail at it, after we saw the weekly have a difficult close there, projection to downside, not quite getting the imbalance fill, so we now have a weekly gap in here, and the candle was bearish, and we could see further upside rejections that we might need to come deeper than this to come back up. It's just going to potentially take a bit longer to play out, or it might not play out. And if so, this will be bye-bye to the first 100k, and it will be me 3% down on phase 2, which isn't the end of the world. With 10% max loss, still got 7%. I've still got around 4 to 5 trades left on that account, with a 1.5% risk, which is currently what I'm doing on phase 2. So a lot kind of relies on that higher time frame trade, and that's why I think that missing them 2 trades in the week made it quite annoying, because it would have been a whole different ball game if that was the case. But keep my head screwed on. Looking forward to this week, seeing what it offers. Haven't yet took any trades in the market, so we might find that we might have quite a dead week. We haven't got too much news going on, but we'll see. Look, this is why I want to do these videos, is because you're getting the real reaction of how I felt the week went, and it's never easy sitting here and saying, let that one go. It hurts, but that is what you sign up for when you're doing this stuff. And you got to remember, every trade you take, if you're not confident in it, you're better off just probably learning from it. If you're not going to put your money on the line, because that's what trading is about, then there is no harm in sitting out and going, you know what, I'm not 100% sure on this one. I'm not going to look back in hindsight and cry about it, but I understand that that's a potential trade that's going to play out. And sometimes the trades you think are going to play out aren't the ones that play out, and vice versa. And that can also mess your head up. So being switched on is something that doesn't just come from, executing the trades. It comes from when you don't execute the trades too. But May's been good. May is going to end profitable, more than likely, with the last couple of days coming in, and I've made good profit for the month. I'm a step closer to being funded, which if I can do that in June and I can do that in July, payouts will start coming in on a big account, and everything will be going well. So once again, thanks guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Peace.